There have certainly been moments, especially when my son was quite young, when I really felt that I've got my back against the wall in terms of mainly just sleep deprivation and kind of getting to a point where I just couldn't function.
33-year-old Imogen Alcorn is speaking out for all sole parents. The hardest part is doing it on your own, not being able to share the highs and lows with another adult.
Nights where I, would cry, like he would be lying there crying because he was just an appalling sleeper and wake up and have tantrums in the middle of the night, or he was sick or something, and I'd just be so exhausted by being kept up for most of the night after night, and then having to function during the day.
He is Imogen's son Manea, born when she was 29.
Relate, but just not having that second person to turn around and be like, I actually can't do this anymore, I have to get some sleep. Not having that person and just lying there crying in front of your baby or yelling at your kid and just in that moment of desperation out of sheer exhaustion, and you just desperately need to have a break and you just can't. And I mean, when I got to that point, that's probably when I would call my family and say, I can't do this, I need you to drop everything and come and get him, I just need to sleep. And, bless them. If I hadn't have had that, I don't know how I would have got through those times. So yeah, really just the exhaustion has been the biggest challenge.
Welcome to Flying Solo, a series on what it takes to raise children on your own in New Zealand today. This is Imogen and Manea's story.
My name is called Manea.
Kia ora, Manea. How old are you?
I don't know.
And where are we right now?
In New Zealand.
Yes,
Imogen and Manea have recently left a flat in Newtown to move in with her dad.
You're in your house.
Yeah,
You're in Papa's
Mum's
house.
yeah.
And you're 4.
I'm 4.
Who can we hear?
That's my granddad.
I'm a social work student and I'm in my final year of a BSW through Massey. I'm the mother of a beautiful 4-year-old son, Manea, and we live out in York Bay, which is on the way to Eastbourne, near the harbour.
Is that your snuggly monkey?
His name is called Monkey.
And what else is in your room, bub?
I've also got dinosaur pictures.
And you have your beautiful Te Vai that Mimi made. And you've got pictures.
Born in Wellington, Imogen grew up in Island Bay, the third of 4 siblings whose parents remarried. Stats New Zealand say of the 200,000 sole parent families, about 85% are women.
That's my nan and that's me. That's when I was a little baby, and that's Papa holding me.
As a Pakeha, Imogen's one of the majority, but her son Manea is of Māori Cook Island heritage on his dad's side, something Imogen's proud of. Before Manea was born, Imogen separated from his father.
And that's Koro.
That's your granddad, Koro.
Yeah. There's Mimi.
Mimi.
Is that your nana?
She does her best to keep her son connected with his dad and that side of the family.
She's the one that bought the Ninja Turtle covers because she's just the best Mimi and she buys you cool stuff whenever she comes over, eh?
I've also got pictures of Mimi holding me in the arms in Wawatonga.
That, I have to say, Manea, that Te Vai is really beautiful. Can you describe it for our listeners?
What does it look like? What's it got on it?
It's got yellow well.
It's got whales all over it, and it's dark blue and turquoise, and it's just beautiful. So a Te Vai is a traditional bedspread.
Yeah, Cook Island.
A Cook Island bedspread.
Traditional craft, yeah, they're amazing.
It's just gorgeous, and it covers your
You're
whole
lucky.
wall. It's really beautiful.
She's a very adoring grandmother. She's only got one grandchild, so he gets lavished in all the aroa from the islands.
I bet you.
Lucky boy.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I'm Manea's papa.
How's it going with your daughter and grandson?
He's the coolest. He's also the funniest.
He's the coolest and the funniest. Why is
Papa flips me down. Makes me upside down.
It's going very well with Manea, as you can tell. It's great having Imogen around. We have a good relationship, but it is stressful having two generations in the same house. It's like, well, whose house is it? Oh, no, it's not my house. I've handed it over to you, so you make the decisions. Oh, Imogen thinks, oh, no, it's not my house because, it's Dad's house. So there's a big, cracks to fall through.
Despite those potential cracks, for a lot of sole parents, living off a benefit while studying is a struggle and the reason for Imogen's move.
We lived on Owen Street in a beautiful big old kind of ramshackle 4-bedroom house with a big garden, just quite close to the zoo. And
you were flatting?
Yeah, we were flatting with a whole bunch of different people from when Manea was just before he turned 1, like maybe 10 months old, right through till a few months back, so 3.5 years, and had a whole bunch of different flatmates while we were living there. But it was, that was our neighbourhood. We were pretty involved in the community, went to playgroup there and, hung out. We had lots of our close friends lived within like a block of us. So it was a really lovely place to be when you're solo parenting a preschooler in Newtown, because you can just walk out the door and you've got cafes, you've got the library, you've got playgroup, you've got op shops. It's pretty ideal. I'd still be in Newtown if I could afford to be in Newtown. And that's where our support network is, really. So it does feel awfully far away being out here.
In Eastbourne. Why the move?
I miss my little house.
Yeah, you miss our house in Newtown too, eh? The move, mainly because our rent went up, really. That was the main reason. And trying to fill the rest of the house was always quite a struggle, because it wasn't like we were only filling one room. But it's just hard. It's hard to find people that you want living with your kid, and it's hard to find people that will put up with living with your kid. It's noisy, and the house was noisy. There was a lot of sound that came through, so poor flatmates would get woken up first thing in the morning, in the middle of the night. So it was always a bit of a tension, to be honest, even if we were living with awesome people. So that kind of just wore me out a bit. And then when our rent went up, then I just sort of thought, I can't do this anymore. So that's when my dad said, look, I'm going away for a bit, why don't you come rent my house while I'm away.
And how many bedrooms in here, Andrew?
Depends how you count them. 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So it's a big, sprawling, gorgeous home. Yes. And how old's the house?
First built in 1946, and then it sort of grew every decade after that.
So how long have you and your family been here, Andrew?
About 14 years.
14 years. So Imogen was how old when...
As a teenager, Imogen was raised by a sole parent, her mum, who had 4 kids to care for.
And she was living with her mum at the time. So I bought this with my then partner, and then we separated. I kept the house.
And here we are. And you've got whānau have moved back in
now
again.
That's right, now the whānau have arrived.
As Manea plays with his own transformer cardboard creations, Imogen makes soup in the kitchen.
Manea was born in 2012, the year of the water dragon. We like to call him a little taniwha. And a taniwha he is. Very auspicious year, I think. Fierce children, but apparently wonderful adults that look after their parents. That's what I'm hoping for. Are we going upstairs, Bob?
For our listeners, let's start with the trucky truck Odon.
It's really interesting with Manea's generation that there's a lot of marriage into Māori ethnicity. So, like, his dad is Māori Cook Islands, Pakeha. But it's the same with a lot of his cousins. So a lot of my nieces and nephews are marrying Māori people. There seems to be quite a trend in that direction.
Yes.
So a lot of the great-grandchildren, thinking of my mum, have got Māori ancestry.
So we're back in the kitchen.
Because I'm going to make some soup to take over to Jessie and Mother's for lunch.
Good, yum, scrum, scrum.
Veggies?
Maybe the fruit and veggies at the market.
Okay.
You can eat the light.
What are you cooking up at the moment?
Some pretty simple soup. Pumpkin, kumara, parsnip, spices, coconut cream.
And where are you off to after this?
We're going to go have lunch with friends of ours in Newtown who we're really missing since we've moved out to York Bay. Jessie and Mara and their 2 little girls, Kahuia and Irihapati. We used to spend a lot of time in and out of each other's houses because they live just around the corner. And now that we're living on the other side of the city, we're not seeing them as much anymore, so it'll be lovely to catch up. Jessie and Mara have been really, really one of the many wonderful friends I have who are super supportive and do heaps of sort of last-minute childcare when I've got hand-ins or I'm sick or something's going on. So, yeah, they're part of our amazing extended whānau who help us out, feed us when we haven't got any food. And
Have you moments when you don't have food? Where it's really, really
occasionally, yeah, there definitely have been over the last few years. There's definitely been some Tuesdays before payday where it's a little bit like, oh, we're
Payday,
going to go
that's
out
the
for dinner at one
benefit.
of our friends' houses. Yeah, there's definitely been some hairy moments.
Imogen, list for me all of the food that you can't eat.
So we can't eat gluten and we can't eat dairy, and Manea probably isn't that great on salicylates, although we haven't had it tested yet.
That's the acid in some fruits.
Yeah, it's something that I had when I was little, so it's not really like a bourgeois lifestyle choice. It's more like I just can't process it at all. So that's hard because gluten-free bread costs twice as much, and so yeah, it's expensive. I do get a little bit of extra money from Wins for that, which is awesome, but I have to reapply for it constantly, even though it's a lifelong condition.
And Imogen's soup is brought to lunch at Jessie and Mara TK's home in Newtown. Mara's a musician and away touring with his band Electric Wire Hustle.
My name is Jessie, I'm Imogen's friend, and we're having a lunch and I'm cooking some quite strange pancakes.
They look very cool.
I've got 2 batches on the go. One batch is gluten-free, dairy-free, and one is dairy-free, but I put yesterday's porridge in them, so they're quite strange.
That's right.
Irihapati,
Irihapati,
Kahuia,
Kahuia,
and
Irihapati.
Manea.
Irihapati, how old are you?
She's 2.
2. And how old are you, love?
7.
7.
Dada!
Hello, hi Manea. As the 3 children play and squabble, Jessie and Imogen reflect on the difference between sole parents and how much things haven't changed.
They sort of fight a bit like siblings. But it's also been good for Manea. Yeah, so learn to look after. Yeah, being an only child, it's really good for him to have other kids to hang out with on a regular basis.
Auntie. Imogen is officially auntie.
So how did you guys meet and how long have you known each other?
I suppose we're both. Oh, you're not actually from Wellington, but you've been in Wellington so long.
I think we did
It's
meet
like
when
the
we
Wellington
were...
old school from teenage years almost.
We did meet when we were
18.
18.
Yeah, and then we kind of reconnected when I had Manea, really. So these guys were over in Berlin for a while, and then you came back. Not long.
And you were up in Auckland?
Yeah, and I was up in Auckland, and then I came back, had baby, and you were the first person at the hospital, carrying my poor screaming newborn around the halls and making him sleep.
What we can do.
Is there stigma attached to being a solo mum?
Yeah, I guess in a way, and also it's like completely accepted and expected in a way. Like it's not shocking or different or unexpected if a woman becomes a solo mother, but the other way around it does. Like if a father becomes the one who looks after the children all the time, it's quite exceptional. I think you get treated differently because women are expected to be the primary caregiver and the one who takes time off work and the one who does all the housework anyway. It's expected, and therefore if the chips fall that way that you end up doing that full time or 90 or 80% of the time, that's just natural, that's just the way it is. Whereas if a man does it, it's like, oh my goodness.
He's a bit of a
amazing.
hero.
Yeah. Or even if a man's just the stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
Even if they're...
Or even if he
coupled.
just has his kid on the weekend and is seen out and about with his kid, everyone's like, oh my goodness, you're the best dad in the world.
Yeah.
You had them for 5 minutes
Fun
and you
dad.
took them to a fair. Yeah, fun dad.
Fun weekend dad.
There's not much glamour in being that not fun weekday 80% mum, really. It's not very glamorous.
Yeah, and then
People don't get all up in arms and like, wow, you're so amazing. They're just like, oh yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on inequity around solo parenting.
There's so many intersecting things that happen when you're solo parenting. There's the practical point of view where you're doing physically and practically taking care of a majority of everything. And then you have the financial kind of inequity of trying to make family life work on half an income or on a benefit, which just doesn't add up at all. Yeah, so that's massive. And renting is the hardest it's ever been in sort of my whole life. I've never seen a rental market like this. And at the moment, sort of our struggle is trying to find somewhere to live where we're still in kind of a reasonable distance from our support network. So realistically, I can't afford to pay more than $300 a week in rent. That's 2/3 of my benefit. And even then I can't afford that, actually, to be honest. But if I start working part-time once this degree's finished, so I've got my last paper that I'm doing at the moment, and then I'll be looking to get as much work as I can fit within school hours.
And the work will be in social work?
Yeah. Ideally it'll be entry-level social work position, and I'll be doing my hours to get registration.
Whereabouts will you want to work?
I'm really open-minded at the moment, but I would love to work with other sole parent families and just generally parents and children, teenagers. I've worked in the sexual violence sector, I've worked in youth work, I've worked in mental health. All of those things are really interesting to me, and at this point I'm pretty open.
So you always thought of Imogen, Jess, as a solo parent from the get-go?
Yeah,
Why is that?
from very early on. Just with all the ins and outs and problems within relationships, I think that everything fell back on her.
To be fair,
which is quite a common, has been with all the friends I have who have since separated. That was always a feature for the kind of in the 2 years or so in the lead up, I think.
Yeah.
That sort of slow pulling apart from each other. Yeah. And I think that it generally falls back on if it's a heterosexual relationship, seems to always fall back on the mum, who kind of picks up all the parenting. So I've always kind of thought of you as a single solo parent.
Yeah, to be fair, we had separated.
In that regard, on and
we
off.
separated. So Manea's dad and I separated about 6-8 months before I actually got pregnant. So we'd separated. I'd moved to Auckland. You know, I was grieving the relationship. We'd been together for years. Finally, put a line in the sand and gone, nah, this is really unhealthy. It's over. And then came back for Christmas to see my family. And then bumped into each other at a gig, I think, on Christmas night. And then hung out for a couple of days, just long enough to get pregnant. So from the get-go, we went, when I found out I was pregnant, we were at the end of being this will definitely never ever work and it's not good. So that was the place that we had to start from when we found out I was pregnant. So it was always going to be tricky. We had pretty different lifestyles. So it had always been kind of challenging in places. Yeah, but there's always been lots of love there too. Lots of love, but really different expectations about stuff and lots of things that we butt heads over. But, at the moment, he's seeing his dad regularly every weekend and we're getting on pretty well, which is awesome. And it's taken a good few years to get to that place. And at the moment I'm just happy that they're spending time with each other, and I feel like, to be honest, I have bent over backwards to facilitate that relationship being a constant part in Manea's life. And at times that has meant sacrificing my own needs. And I think that's one of the hardest things about separating, is taking your own feelings about the separation out of it and just being like, no, we need to respect the kid in their relationship with their family and never say anything
and
negative.
The other parent.
And the other parent, and respect the other parent, And we agreed when we when things were bad, we agreed that we wouldn't ever say anything negative about the other person in front of the kids, and not ever because, if you say something horrible about, oh, your dad's this, your dad's that, you're actually cutting their own identity. That's part of them, that's part of their spiritual self.
It's hard for them to understand, if you're saying on one hand, oh, they're this or they're that, and then the next day you're like, okay, off you go, it's your weekend with them. They'll be thinking, but you just said this, and why would you send, so it's so confusing for them.
Yeah. And I think that's paid off because he loves going over to his dad's house. Yeah, and you know, it's cool.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, your relationship with Manea and with his father is quite separate from your relationship together.
You have to keep those feelings separate. Yeah. I'm really proud of that, actually. It's been so hard, but it's been, it's really important to me.
Who's this, Manea?
This is my Nana, who was in my pictures.
After lunch, Imogen and Manea are off to Island Bay to Nana's place, another person who's helped keep Imogen sane.
Yes.
My name is Robin. I'm Imogen's mum, and I'm a community worker. As well as being a mother and a grandmother. And a mother and grandmother over quite a large, extended family, which includes not only my own children and grandchildren, but my partner's children and grandchildren as well. And across that, there are parents who are married and parents who are not.
They're walking the talk, like mother, like daughter. Imogen's keen interest in social work was inspired by Robin's own soul parenting and community work. And what they find is that social attitudes only make it harder for those flying solo. There's a double standard.
And I think, for me, the way I would sum it up would be to say, if people are married with a family, they've got a lot more margin in every way. But in terms of just their dignity, in terms of their mana, really, you can let your kids, go out down to the supermarket in dirty clothes or have a snotty face or whatever, and everyone just thinks, they're really busy, But if you're parenting by yourself, it's like people are watching you all the time. And that's something which often my clients say too, because I'm a community worker. And there's a sense that your kids have to be twice as well mannered, well presented, well dressed, twice as little trouble as the parents, as the kids of parents who are married. And I think that just that day-to-day thing that people carry on top of worrying about money, on top of trying to be two people all rolled up into one, a person bringing home the money, the person doing all the parenting, the person who wants to do the mothering, in the way that maybe they remember mothering to be done, and trying to do that despite exhaustion and worry, and of course it's just so much worse now because it's so much harder to make a living now. And we're in a gig economy, and it's just really hard to get the right kind of job. So those are my immediate thoughts.
You're seeing this within your own daughters.
I have so much admiration for what Imogen is doing, and all the women who are like her, really. Imogen's trying to study and make a home and parent in a really dedicated way and make education choices and make the same parenting choices every day that all parents do, but to do it often in isolation and without physical backup, so all those 2 a.m. wake-ups and, 5 a.m. start the day, whatever, has to be managed with just one person. And Imogen's really lucky because she's got a good, supportive family and and awesome friends.
Amazing family and friends. I keep saying that over and over again, but really is the difference between making it work and it being extremely impossible and grim and awful.
They've a message for the Deputy Prime Minister, herself a solo mum.
The dream is over. The Paula Bennett's.
I was just thinking about this thesis that I was reading recently on solo parenting, and she quoted this part of Paula Bennett's speech when she was releasing, I think it's the Future Focus Bill. I can't remember if it was 2010 or 2013. Anyway, they put in a whole lot of new welfare restrictions and changed the welfare scene.
Because there's this perception that solo mums are out there
making an easy lifestyle choice.
Yeah, so it was like she was saying the dream is over, we're going to crack down on you now, as if before that solo parents had this dream-like lifestyle where they were sitting around with their feet up, spending the government's money on this, that and the other thing, having this luxurious lifestyle where they didn't have to work and they just popped out another baby if they felt a bit short of money and then were rolling in it. And I think that's really interesting that that's still a kind of part of our cultural narrative as a society, that that thing about beneficiaries are taking the piss basically, and that they're getting money for nothing, and there's still very much a feeling, I think, especially around solo mums, that, you know, they should be extremely grateful that the government's giving them all this money so they don't have to work, and that they don't want to go back to work and they're a burden on society. And you just still hear that a lot. And I don't know anyone who enjoys living on a benefit. And I've never met this person. I've never met this mum who's like, yay, it's so much fun living on $0 a week so I don't have to work and I get to stay with my kids. Like, it's insane. Anyone who thinks that should spend 5 minutes with a solo parent and see what their life is actually like. No one would want that for themselves. No one would want that for their kids. I've never met anyone who has that attitude towards being on welfare. It's not a fun time.
Ko Lynda Chanwai-Earle aho, and you've been listening to Flying Solo, engineered by RNZ's Phil Benj, and thanks to Maratike and the Electric Wire Hustle for their music. In the final episode of Flying Solo next week, she was pregnant at 13. We meet teenage solo mum and junior sporting champ Rian, her toddler Brayden, and Rian's extended whānau, who've embraced their mokopuna. You can find us on iTunes or check out our webpage at radionz.co.nz/flying solo.